What's up, y'all? In this video, I'll be going over every single component that I'm using right now to manage my domains. We'll be going over the automations in detail. I'll be going over the exact process from step 0 to the end. I'll be showing you how I'm planning on maximizing deliverability by pausing domains every single month and then rotating them with other inboxes. What prompted this is this automation actually. So what this automation did is it really gave me a clear idea as to how well we're maximizing the sending capacity. And when we look at the sending capacity dashboard over here, looking at client number 2, you'll notice that it's all orange. So what does this orange mean? This orange is basically the warm-up reputation that's coming from SmartLead. So if it's 85 to 100%, it's signaling that we have a good warm-up reputation. If it's 85 below, we will know that it's bad. And if it's below 65%, I believe, then it's going to be red. And so I actually started to notice that the warm-up reputation for this client was going down. And by the way, this had a massive hit. We were generating like 4 leads a day, like doing an insane job, right? We were doing like really well. But then all of a sudden it just went down. And this was a perfect signal because I was not previously paying attention to these warm-up repetitions. But now that I can see it, it's super clear because the one with the 3,000 inboxes over here, all of them are high. The deliverability is great. We're having no issues. And that's the same thing with every other client. And the third client over here, where we've got a few reds, those are actually coming from a very specific provider. And when I looked at the inboxes for those very specific providers, it was just not great. And so this has been a game changer, and I'll show you guys how we're setting it up. But we can also keep track of the domain platforms in better detail. And so we've got more reseller over here, F60 host. We've got MailForge, MailReef, Hypertide, and pretty much whatever domain platform that we want, we're able to keep track of all of them and how they all interact with one another. And how we're doing that is using this domain database that we've got here. But it's not just a domain database, it's also a task management process. And so essentially, when we get new domains, we purchase new domains, they come into this to-do section, and they can either get deleted, they can get paused, or they can get activated, right? And all of this stuff is going to be reflected inside our SmartLead with a two-way sync. But these ones, for example, you'll see these ones over here are still in the to-do section. That's because we're still waiting for these to transfer in, right? So we actually are transferring them from GoDaddy. And so this task management process, so if you just want like, how do you manage all of these domains? This is how we do it. We're using a project management tool, right? And so once we've got this GoDaddy situation sorted, we will then add it into SmartLead over here. And so we would basically just connect the mailbox. Something else that I do is I use a lot of resellers. I use a lot of tools. And so usually I'm not the one adding these inboxes. They typically just get added into my SmartLead account automatically. And then the automation takes care of the rest. The only time I'm ever going in myself personally is when I'm adding it as a CSV, so from an SMTP provider such as MailReef, for example, or Google Auth, which is usually only done for in-house domains. And so this is that situation. So we would add the email accounts here, and then once those email accounts are added, it's going to trigger this step 1 automation. So what this step 1 automation is going to do is it's basically going to get all of the email accounts, and by getting all of the email accounts, we're essentially just getting all of the email accounts inside the account. However, we're going to be filtering it by the ones that were created within a day. And so this is running every 2 hours so that it's staying as up to date as possible, right? And so we're doing the same thing, right? We're iterating through all of those email accounts. And then from there, once we've done that, we're going to add a pause tag. So this is actually using an undocumented API, but we're going to be adding a tag, which is this one over here, which is paused. And the reason why we're instantly pausing brand new accounts is because that's what should happen, right? If it's a warm-up, if it's a 2-week warm-up, that means we're not sending emails in the 2-week warm-up period, right? However, if you've got, like in my case, let's go back to this dashboard, for example, right? we've got these clients over here with 1,000 sending capacity, but we're starting to get some deliverability problems. What does this mean? This means I'm going to get more inboxes. And so because I'm going to get more inboxes to clients that already have activated inboxes, when I create a brand new campaign and I need to add inboxes, if you don't split those inboxes up by a tag such as paused and active, you're basically going to add a whole bunch of email accounts, and that's going to include the ones that are paused and active. But because you don't have a tag, you're not going to know the difference, right? So that's the reason why we're adding this pause tag. And then from there, we're getting the email accounts, all of the email accounts, and then adding them into ClickUp over here. So this is what I mean, right? Just adding them into ClickUp. And then in addition to adding them, we are scheduling the warm-up end date. And so this is basically saying that these are brand new email accounts that have been paused automatically. After 10 days, trigger the step 2 automation, which is going to be this one, which is going to be this one. This one is basically going to get all of the email accounts that have the filter over here. So new week, 2-week warm up is basically the warm up end date is done, right? So the warm up end date has reached. We're going to retrieve those email accounts again, and then essentially change the tag over here. So by changing the tag, we're essentially you switching out from the pause tag to the active tag. So we don't need to think about this whole process of getting a bunch of accounts and then 2 weeks later having another task to activate it. That just happens automatically. And these are the 2 automations that are helping us do that. So that's the automated component. Let's go into some other components. This is the step 1.5. And so the moment these domains are added here, this automation over here is basically going to get the clients. And so it's going to search. So actually, if I were to click on this, yeah, there's no filter. But basically, it just gets all of the clients that are inside the account, and then it filters them. And then it sends them to ChatGPT. And so ChatGPT is essentially going to look up all of the clients and then try to match the domain with the client. And so when we go to the domains over here, we don't want to actually sit down and try to figure out which client and spend time filling out these forms. These fields. ChatGPT is just going to do it for us. And so once ChatGPT has done that, it's going to update the task for us inside ClickUp. And then the step 2 automation is basically going to take all of those email accounts and then add the warm-up settings there. And so the warm-up settings are going to be added. The general settings are going to be added. The signature is going to be added. And because we did this step 1.5 automation, right? So all of this stuff is like related with one another in one way, shape, or form. Because we did the step 1.5 automation where we're mapping the client to the domain, we are now able to create a signature that's personalized to the client. And so that's why we're doing this 1.5 step. It's so that we can get that stuff. Let me show you guys, by the way, what this is. So I'm pulling up the client here. So I've got a client. So this is the Afonto client. We have that here. And then when we click on them, we're able to actually find that we have a company name. And so this is stuff that we do in the onboarding process. So during the onboarding process, we're getting all of this stuff figured out. But essentially, we've got the company name, we've got the company domain. This is what ChatGPT is using to determine where the domain should be linked. And then the signatures are grabbing from this client information to craft that. And so we would put like let's go into the actual thing over here for the signature, right? Let's look at modify email accounts. Sure, this is fine. We can look at the signature over here, and you'll notice that it takes the name from the actual signature, and then it takes the company from the client database. And so that's how that's working. And then the next one over here is updating the quality custom field. And so this is an automation that's running every week or so. And all this is doing is looking up all of the email accounts inside SmartLead and grouping them by the warm-up reputation on a domain basis. And so we have 2,000 plus inboxes inside our account, and I don't really feel like it's very beneficial for me to look at the warm-up reputations on an inbox by inbox basis, because tools like Hypertide, for example, will give you 50 inboxes, right? And those 50 inboxes will have different warm up reputations. And so some of them are going to be really bad, some of them are going to be really great. I feel like a better indication is just looking at the entire domain as a whole. And so that's what this is doing. It's basically looking up it's getting the domain and then getting the email accounts and grouping them by the domain. And so it's aggregating all of the warm up reputation by the domain. So it's getting the average of that, and then it's updating the domain quality. And so when we go back here, I've actually got just domains. I don't have an inbox management system or database or anything of that nature. It's just domains, and I already explained the reason. I have like 2,000 inboxes actively inside my SmartLead account. It's not beneficial, right? But because we have this, we can actually look at some of these things, right? Like we've got the emails, over here. We're able to look at the sending limit on a domain basis. And then what I was just talking about with this automation is it's changing the quality. So from high, medium, low. And so how does all of this stuff tie in together? So this is the final part of the process. Now that we've got all of the inboxes synced automatically, everything is happening for us without us doing anything. Now that we've got all of that stuff happening, it's linked with the client. We are now able to look at the warm up reputation. That's the end outcome, right? So we now look at the warm up reputation, and we can see that client number 2, the warm up reputation is horrible. And so what this signals to us as an action step is that we need to get more domains, right? And we know how many domains we need to get. And by the way, this sending capacity thing that we're doing over here, this is something that most people just they don't even know. They don't know how many inboxes they have how many emails they have available to them. And so I actually, in my mind, I thought I had way more sending capacity for at least one of these clients. Like one of them, I thought I had 2,000. But when I did the math and I put it through the automation, it said 2,000. Sorry, it said 1,300, meaning I was $700, 700 inboxes off my estimation. And it makes total sense, by the way, because if you don't have an automation, you see this 91, and then you scroll down, all of these are like 15, 15, 15, easy, right? Easy to know. But the moment you start getting all of these other providers, you get some MailForge, you get some MailReef, you get some Hypertide, all of these with different sending capacities, then you start to run into some issues, because now it's no longer 15, 15, 15 times 91. It's 15 times 30, and then 2 times 50, and then another stuff. And so it's hard to know your sending capacity. But this process actually makes it very clear. And in my case, the end outcome of all of this is that I'm going to be purchasing a bunch more inboxes. So double the inboxes that are actively running. Actually, more like triple. I'm going to be tripling all of the inboxes, and I'm going to be cycling them month in and month out. And so, like these ones that are red, these ones that are orange, right now I'm fucked. we're absolutely fucked. Like I have nothing. I can't do anything. Right? Like we're just gonna suffer through this for the next 2 weeks. But if I was in a better situation, better prepared, I would have had these ones paused. I would have actually just looked at these and just paused them instantly right now. And then I would have looked at the ones that were cycled out, and then I would activate those. And so like we would have zero downtime. I've already brought this up to the client. The client understands, but this is how I would do it. It's cycling the inboxes in and out month by month. And I'm like, this is the one client that we're starting to see this issue with, but it's trickling in for every other client. Like every other client, like I'm looking at the numbers, and this is what it looks like it's going to be. You have to send lower volumes, and then you have to trickle in and out your inboxes, and this is my system for doing that. Cheers!